Babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and honestly, adulthood feels like one giant group project where nobody actually knows what's going on.
I mean, literally nobody. Welcome back to the Snark Squad, everyone. If you are joining us today to unpack this absolute masterclass in Houston chaos, you are going to need a beverage.
Oh, absolutely.
Because tonight's pairing for the recap is a classic. We are drinking Texas peach mules. They are sweet and inviting right up front, but then they hit you with this massive, spicy, undeniable kick of ginger beer right at the end.
Which is so fitting.
Right, because if we are talking about this specific group of women, the drinks have absolutely got to match the energy.
I am already obsessed with that pairing. I have mine right here. Cheers to you, and cheers to everyone listening. To chasing dreams, paying bills, and, pretending you have your life together.
When you are secretly just holding it all together with iced coffee and sheer willpower.
And maybe a little bit of delusion. Honestly, a lot of delusion.
Cheers to delusion. But okay, before we get into the absolute mess that was this week's television, we need to do a little palate cleanser to ground ourselves.
Oh, for sure.
Because the underlying theme we are looking at today is ambition, burnout, and what happens when you spread yourself too thin. So we are doing the Dream Life draft.
Yes. I love the theme.
We are each taking turns drafting 5 things that would exist in our absolute, no-holds-barred, lottery-winning dream life. I'll let you start since, your head is usually floating somewhere in the romantic clouds anyway.
Okay, slightly rude, but entirely accurate. I will take it. So my first draft pick for the dream life is a house with a massive Beauty and the Beast style library.
Oh, of course it is.
I am talking floor-to-ceiling mahogany bookshelves, a rolling wooden ladder, those little green glass bankers reading lamps, and overstuffed velvet chairs.
Just leaning all the way into the aesthetic.
Exactly. A dedicated sanctuary where I can just disappear into a completely different world for hours without anyone asking me to make a single decision.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking that you chose romance, aesthetics, and escapism right out of the gate.
Hey, it's a valid lifestyle choice.
Sure it is. Well, my first pick is fundamentally rooted in reality and is purely practical. A mandatory, globally enforced 4-day work week.
Wait, globally enforced?
Yes. 3-day weekends every single week. Thursday is the new Friday across the entire planet. The amount of efficiency we would unlock as a society if we just had one extra day to rot on the couch, do our laundry in peace, and stare at a wall is mathematically undeniable.
See, you call it unlocking societal efficiency, but I call it an elaborate excuse to never put on hard pants again.
Hard pants are a prison, and I stand by that.
I completely support it, though. Okay, my second pick.
Yeah.
An unlimited, no-questions-asked travel budget, specifically designated to visit friends.
Well, that's actually kind of nice.
Right. The mechanism here is connection. I want to be able to wake up, realize I deeply miss a friend in New York, and just hop on a private jet for a 2-hour coffee date.
Private jet. Okay, carbon footprint.
Look, it's a dream life. I don't want to check my bank account or stress about TSA lines or coordinate PTO.
Yeah.
Just instant geographical freedom for the sake of friendship.
Oh, the logistics of that are a nightmare, but I respect the emotional flex. My second pick is about eradicating decision fatigue. A personal chef.
Oh, wow.
But not just any chef, a chef who intuitively knows exactly what my body and mind want at any given moment, so I never, ever have to chop another onion.
Or mince garlic. The worst.
Exactly. I never want to figure out what to make for dinner at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday ever again. The psychological weight of the question, what's for dinner, is just eradicated from my brain forever.
I mean, I would genuinely miss baking because I find the tactile nature of dough very grounding. But honestly, having someone else deal with the anxiety of undercooking raw chicken, I totally get it. It's brilliant.
Right. Okay, your third pick.
My third pick is entirely emotional. A dog that is perfectly cuddly, loves to go on long, rigorous hikes, but somehow, miraculously, defies the laws of biology and never sheds a single hair.
A biological impossibility.
I know, but just imagine a hypoallergenic, soul-bonded golden retriever that leaves my black leggings completely pristine.
Defying the basic laws of genetics just so you don't have to buy a lint roller? Classic.
It's the dream life. What's your third?
Lifetime, VIP, front row concert tickets to any artist anywhere in the world.
Oh, that is a good one.
No Ticketmaster queues, no dynamic pricing holding my wallet hostage, no fighting for my life in a pre-sale while a countdown timer induces a literal panic attack.
Oh my gosh, the pre-sale anxiety is so real.
Just me, walking past the velvet rope, flashing a laminate, and walking directly to the barricade.
Okay, the lack of Ticketmaster trauma makes that one actually brilliant. I am stealing that.
Too late, I drafted it. What's your fourth?
My fourth pick is endless fresh flower arrangements that magically and sustainably replenish themselves in every room of my house.
You really are just trying to live inside a cottagecore Pinterest board, aren't you?
I am. Peonies in the spring, dahlias in the fall, ranunculus in the winter. Just constant, effortless, curated beauty that smells amazing and brings life into the space.
Without having to remember to change the murky water in the vase.
Exactly, because that water gets so gross.
It does. Well, my fourth pick is a universal mute button.
Wait, what?
A literal physical remote control that I can carry in my pocket and point at people in real life. Specifically, loud, arrogant reality TV cast members who are factually wrong, and just instantly silence them.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine the profound peace. Imagine the exquisite quiet of just clicking a button and shutting down a narcissistic monologue.
You are so deeply cynical. But also, can I borrow it for a few family holidays?
No, it's my draft pick. Get your own.
Fine. Okay, my final pick. A wardrobe that perfectly tailors itself to my body every single morning.
Okay, wait, I like that.
Right. No more wondering if a certain pair of jeans fit based on what I ate yesterday. No more taking things to the dry cleaner. No more fashion tape. Just clothes that magically adjust to whatever physical and emotional shape I'm taking that day.
That's actually a very thoughtful and psychologically healthy draft pick. Eliminating body image friction from the morning routine. I love that.
Thank you. I thought it was pretty solid.
It is. But I'm going to finish strong with the ultimate lazy efficiency hybrid. A dedicated VIP force field protected lane in all traffic everywhere.
A force field.
Yes. No red lights, no aggressive tailgaters, no construction detours. Just me cruising at exactly the speed limit, listening to my music, while everyone else is stuck in absolute gridlock.
I am noticing a distinct pattern here. You are literally just drafting highly elaborate ways to avoid human interaction, eliminate effort, and bypass the general public.
Yeah.
Your whole draft is basically how to be a highly efficient, misanthropic hermit.
And your entire draft is basically how to be the romanticized main character in a low-stakes fantasy novel.
I stand by my picks. We are who we are, I guess.
Exactly. But let's bring it back down to actual Earth. Since we clearly do not live in our flawless, frictionless dream lives, let's talk about our actual very messy lives. It is time for our biggest flex of the week.
Yes. The flex that isn't actually a flex at all.
Correct.
Oh, I have been meticulously preparing for this. Hand me my gold medal right now. Flex number 1. I kept my notoriously dramatic fiddly fig plant alive for another consecutive week.
Oh.
I know. She dropped exactly one leaf in protest of a slight draft in the living room, but she is still standing, and we are pushing forward.
The stadium crowd goes completely wild. The bar is on the floor, but you stepped right over it with grace.
Thank you, thank you. What's yours?
My first microflex, I finally answered an email that has been sitting in my inbox since last Tuesday, haunting my waking hours.
Ugh, the lingering email.
The unread notification was burning a psychological hole in my retinas, but I vanquished it with a highly professional, completely detached, apologies for the delay, circling back on this now.
A modern corporate hero. You love to see it.
I do my best.
Okay, flex number 2. I did laundry, and I found matching socks for every single day of the week.
Are you lying?
I am not. No stragglers, no mysterious dryer black hole swallowing the left sock of my favorite pair. A perfect symmetrical pair ready to go every single morning.
Honestly, given the chaotic state of modern laundry appliances, that borders on actual witchcraft, I am impressed.
I felt very powerful.
Well, my second flex, speaking of laundry, I folded it the exact same day it came out of the dryer.
Shut up.
I am serious. It did not sit in the basket, acting as a secondary piece of bedroom furniture for 3 to 5 business days. Immediate fold, immediate put away. The drawers are organized.
I am genuinely intimidated by your level of executive function right now. I don't know if I can compete with that.
It was a rare moment of clarity.
Okay, my final flex. I had a moment this week where I was so emotionally drained, so socially tapped out, and a friend texted me wanting to talk about something heavy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. My immediate knee-jerk instinct was to ghost, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and vanish into the absolute void of isolation. But I didn't. I took a deep breath, and I texted back. I had one more conversation instead of isolating myself.
See, I'm not even going to snark on that because that is actually a profound flex. Fighting the urge to isolate when you are running on empty takes immense emotional regulation. Proud of you for that one.
Oh, thanks. I tried.
Well, my final flex is far more arrogant and superficial.
Of course it is.
I cooked an entire complex dinner without checking the recipe every 2 minutes. I trusted my ancestral heart with the garlic measurements.
Oh, that's brave.
I didn't panic scroll through a food blog while my onions were burning on the stove. Complete unbothered culinary confidence.
Cue the stadium cheers. We are thriving. We are practically functional adults.
But
Thinking about all these little micro struggles, these tiny battles against our own inertia, really makes me wonder, like, if we could go back in time, what would we tell our 18-year-old selves? Because 18-year-old me was an absolute unmitigated mess of insecurity and bad choices.
an absolute disaster zone. If I had 3 minutes in a room with 18-year-old me, the very first thing I would drill into their head is about career and money.
Okay, what would you say?
I would look them in the eye and say, take calculated, highly analytical risks early on. And more importantly, do not, under any circumstances, confuse chaos with confidence.
Oh, that is good.
Just because someone is talking the loudest in a boardroom, just because they are dominating the conversation with buzzwords, doesn't mean they actually know what they're doing. Stop being intimidated by loud idiots.
That is so incredibly perceptive. Do not confuse chaos with confidence. I need to embroider that on a pillow and hand it out to half the people we were going to talk about today.
Right.
For me, I would tell 18-year-old me about friendships and inner confidence. I would say, stop comparing your messy, unedited, behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's highly curated highlight reel.
Yes. The comparison trap is brutal.
And please, give your friendships a little more grace. People grow, people mess up, people say the wrong things out of hurt, and every good friendship deserves at least one more deep conversation before you just walk away and burn the bridge.
That is beautiful, and it completely contradicts my second piece of advice.
Naturally. What is it?
Set boundaries early and fiercely. You do not owe anyone your absolute exhaustion. It is completely okay to say no without providing a 3-page, peer-reviewed dissertation on why you cannot attend their random Tuesday night event.
That is so real.
No is a complete sentence. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm.
Yes. Reclaiming your time and your energy, which flows perfectly into my second one. Your worth as a human being is not inherently tied to your productivity.
Say that again for the people in the back.
You are allowed to just exist. You don't have to earn your rest by burning yourself out first. You don't have to justify a nap by listing everything you accomplished that morning. Rest is a right, not a reward.
A vital lesson that certain steakhouse owners we know desperately need to learn.
We will definitely get to that.
And my final piece of advice. Start a rigorous skincare routine immediately and put whatever money you can into a high-yield savings account.
Sunscreen and savings.
Compound interest and SPF are the only 2 foundational forces you can actually trust in this chaotic world.
Okay, wait. I'm getting genuinely emotional thinking about how much grace and direction we needed back then.
It was a rough time.
Just stumbling through the dark, trying to figure out who we were, letting other people dictate our value.
Yeah, it gets surprisingly deep when you look back. We have genuinely grown so much. We've built actual emotional toolkits.
We really have. The emotional evolution is real.
And yet, yesterday I couldn't decide what to make for dinner. The decision fatigue paralyzed me, so I just ate a family-sized bag of white cheddar popcorn and watched 3 consecutive hours of TikToks about deep-sea creatures.
Oh my God.
So clearly, the growth is an illusion, and we still have absolutely nothing figured out.
Exactly. The growth is a complete lie. We are just toddlers with credit cards. But babes, enough about our own hustle. Let's head to Houston, where everybody has big dreams, bigger personalities, and absolutely no indoor voices.
The transition we have all been waiting for. We are unpacking Season 2, Episode 7 of The Houston Hustle, brilliantly and ominously titled The Bone Collector.
Wow.
And wow, the mess was operating at maximum unprecedented capacity this week.
It really was. The psychological layering in this episode was dense. Okay, let's unpack this systematically because I have so many feelings, and we need to look at the mechanics of what these women are actually doing to each other.
Let's do it.
We open at McQuarter's Steak and Seafood. Ashley is in the process of opening this luxury Black-owned spot, and she invites Latoria, who goes by Lori and Labrina, over for a tasting.
And the space looks incredible.
Right, first of all, let's just acknowledge the aesthetic, the ambiance. Gorgeous, the plating, stunning, but the vibe, immediately suffocatingly treacherous.
Treacherous is the absolute perfect word, because Ashley barely has the time to set down the lump crab meat appetizer before Labrina and Lori physically corner her to start planting seeds about Chloe.
Like, let the woman breathe for a second.
Exactly. They aren't there to celebrate Ashley's massive business milestone. They're there to rehash the drama from Rose's wild night out event. And of course, inevitably, we are dragged right back into the gravity well of the precious tape.
The single comment that absolutely refuses to die.
The great dispute of the century. For anyone who needs a refresher on the mechanics of this feud, did Labrina say that Lori's friend looked like the actress Gabrielle Cedi from the movie Precious?
Yes, that is the million-dollar question.
So Labrina is sitting there at this beautiful table looking Ashley dead in the eye, claiming that Chloe is a master manipulator, that Chloe is carrying the bones back and forth, acting as a malicious courier of gossip just to watch the group tear itself apart.
And Lori, who is kind of caught in the crossfire, ends up apologizing for the entire entanglement of the situation.
Which is absolutely wild to me. Here is where I have to step in and apply some basic logic, because the hypocrisy is blinding.
Oh, here we go.
Labrina is sitting at this luxury-tasting, pearl-clutching, acting completely disgusted by the very concept of Chloe being a bone collector. She is morally outraged that Chloe would bring gossip back to the group.
Right.
But let's rewind the tapes of our own memory for just 1 second. Earlier in the season, who took a microscopic, petty bone back to Lori about a $22 lemon drop?
Oh my gosh.
It was Labrina.
The lemon drop incident, I completely blocked that out of my mind.
Exactly, because Labrina wants you to forget. She is a complete hypocrite in this dynamic. She is sitting there complaining about the suffocating smell of smoke when she is a reality TV arsonist.
That is such a good analogy.
She loves to light a little fire. She loves to strike the match when it suits her narrative. But the second Chloe holds a match, suddenly it's despicable, unclassy behavior. It is a brilliant strategy of misdirection, but it is entirely transparent if you are actually paying attention.
I see your point, I really do. The hypocrisy is mathematically undeniable. But let me defend the psychological intent for a second, or at least play devil's advocate. Even if Labrina is hypocritical about her own past behavior, I do think Lori and Labrina trying to clear the air between them is vital. To save a fracturing friendship, you have to find a patch of solid, common ground to stand on.
And that common ground just happens to be hating Chloe.
Well, yes, right now their common ground is that they both feel deeply burned and manipulated by how Chloe weaponizes and delivers information. They are using Chloe as the anchor to rebuild their own trust.
You're describing trauma bonding over a mutual annoyance, which is a classic sociological phenomenon in friend groups.
Exactly. It's a real thing.
But you have to realize that by doing this, they are completely deflecting their own culpability. They are consciously using Chloe as a scapegoat so they do not have to hold each other accountable for the terrible things they have actually said.
I mean, true.
If Chloe's is the ultimate villain who twisted the words, then Labrina doesn't have to apologize for her underlying malice, and Lori gets to play the innocent victim. It's a brilliant defensive strategy, honestly, but it's rooted in complete denial.
Well, the transparency of denial completely vanished by the next segment, because we move from the high-stakes politics of a luxury steakhouse to the absolute raw, emotional devastation of Monira's disastrous family dinner.
Oh, this was hard to watch.
Honestly, my heart was breaking into 1,000 tiny pieces during this entire sequence. Monira is trying desperately to force this healed, idyllic family dynamic by hosting her estranged mom and dad for dinner under the same roof.
Which is a recipe for absolute unmitigated disaster. You cannot force deep generational trauma healing with a nice dinner roll and some mood lighting. It defies every law of psychology.
But you have to look at the why behind it. She wants it so badly. She just wants her inner child healed.
I know, but
She is looking at her own kids, and she wants them to have the cohesive grandparent experience that she feels she was robbed of. We even see this deeply poignant moment where the young granddaughter draws a little potato head picture for the grandpa. It is so profoundly sweet and innocent.
it is sweet, but the implosion happens before the appetizers are even served. The mom absolutely refuses to come out of her bedroom. She literally says on camera that she does not want to play happy family in her own home.
Which was just devastating to hear.
And honestly, good for the mom. I am completely on the mother's side here. That house is her sanctuary. If a man has deeply hurt you, if there is unresolved pain there, You should not be forced to sit across a dining table from him in your own home just to fulfill your daughter's aesthetic vision of a happy family.
That's a huge ask.
The cameras are there, the kids are there, the pressure to perform forgiveness is astronomical. Monira should never have forced this issue in the mother's safe space. If you want to force a high-stakes reunion, you take them to a restaurant. You go to neutral territory where people can leave if they feel triggered.
I agree that the home was the wrong venue. It breached the boundary of safety. But what really gets me, what is so fascinating from a behavioral standpoint, is Munira's misplaced anger when the plan falls apart.
Oh, totally.
Monira realizes her mom isn't coming down, and instead of processing that profound sadness and rejection, she instantly gets furious at her husband, Norm.
Poor Norm.
Right. Norm, who is a custom home builder, by the way, and I always love a man in construction, he seems completely unbothered. In fact, he almost looks relieved that the mom didn't come down to start a fight.
Oh, Norm had the exact look of a man who saw a Category 5 hurricane coming straight for his living room and was just silently praising the heavens that it veered off course at the last possible second.
Literally.
Norm knows the history. He knew this was a terrible idea from inception. He even says he tried to gently warn her. But Monira is projecting so hard here.
So hard.
Let's talk about the psychological mechanism at play. Transference. She cannot safely be mad at her mom because her mom is the victim in whatever past trauma occurred with the dad, so she subconsciously identifies Norm as a safe target. She uses her supportive husband as an emotional punching bag because he won't abandon her if she yells at him.
It is textbook transference. She is furious at the architecture of her broken family, but Norm is the only one standing there in the room, so she attacks him.
And then it gets worse.
It gets so much worse. The dad actually arrives. They sit down at this incredibly tense table, and Norm is asked to give the dinner prayer, which turned out to be an absolute masterclass in weaponized theology.
Oh, the petty prayer. I was literally taking notes on his phrasing.
Me too.
Norm is Jamaican, and he bows his head and brings up this beautiful, harmonious family dinner they had in Jamaica with his parents. And then he seamlessly, smoothly transitions into saying, "Right to God," and unfortunately, not everybody wanted to attend this one.
While leading grace.
While leading grace, he used the Lord's Prayer to file a grievance.
I physically gasped. You do not use the Lord's Prayer to throw passive-aggressive shade at your mother-in-law who is actively hiding upstairs in her bedroom.
It was messy, it was inappropriate, but it was deeply honest. Norm is tired of the facade. He builds custom homes for a living. He knows that if the foundation is cracked, you can't just paint over it and pretend it's structurally sound.
That's a good point.
But this entire disastrous dinner raises such an important question for you listening right now. Have you ever tried to force a group project or a family holiday or a friend vacation to work when everyone else had clearly already opted out emotionally?
Yes.
When you are the only one holding the itinerary, desperately trying to manifest joy, and everyone else is just dragging their feet in silent protest.
It is the most isolating, agonizing feeling. You just want everyone to get along to experience the joy you visualize.
Yeah.
You end up deeply resenting the very people you were trying to unite because they won't play their assigned roles.
It's a losing game.
It really is. But speaking of resenting the people you love because they won't play their roles, let's pivot to Ashley's hustle versus her husband Brad's absolute unmitigated audacity.
I had to pause the screen, get up, and take a deep breath during this scene.
I was screaming at the TV.
Let's just analytically list the resume and the current burden of Ashley McWhorter right now. She just earned her doctorate, which is a massive academic undertaking.
Hey.
She works as a practicing therapist Monday through Wednesday, carrying the emotional trauma of her clients. She owns and runs a Lure Bar and Lounge Thursday through Sunday.
That's already 2 full-time jobs.
Exactly. She has 2 small children, actual toddlers, and a 15-year-old nephew living in her house. And she is currently overseeing the massive construction and chaotic opening of McWhorter's Steak and Seafood.
Just listening to you list those responsibilities makes my cortisol levels spike. She is carrying a physical and mental load that would absolutely break most human beings.
Completely break them.
And she articulates it so perfectly. She says she just wants to be Ashley for a minute. She hasn't been just Ashley in so long. She is mom, she is doctor, she is boss. She just wants to breathe without being needed.
Enter Brad. Brad, who owns a highly lucrative production company. Brad, who travels constantly for his work, leaving Ashley completely alone to manage the 3 kids, the household logistics, and her 3 highly demanding jobs.
And what does he do?
Brad sits down at a table with his exhausted, overworked wife and calmly tells her that he will only get off the road and be a present partner if her new restaurant can fully replace his massive income.
Unbelievable.
Oh, and as a cherry on top of this absurd negotiation, he casually mentions he wants a third baby.
I wanted to throw my notebook through the television screen. The unmitigated audacity of this man.
It is a toxic cocktail of weaponized incompetence mixed with transactional baby making. Let's break down exactly what he is saying to her. He is fundamentally saying, I will only be a present, active father to the children we already have if you build a successful enough hospitality empire to fund my exact current lifestyle.
Which is insane.
And my reward to you for giving me financial freedom will be getting you pregnant again. Sir, you are barely present for the toddlers you already have. Who is going to raise this hypothetical third baby? Ashley. While she is simultaneously unclogging the grease trap at the steakhouse.
It makes me spiral into a feminist rage because you see this exact dynamic so often with highly ambitious, successful women.
All the time.
The men love the aesthetic idea of a boss woman. They brag about it to their friends. Brad literally says on camera that he loves that she's a boss. But they don't actually want to adjust their own lives, their own comfort, or their own free time to structurally support that boss.
No, of course not.
They just expect her to flawlessly execute everything she was doing before. All the traditional domestic labor, plus build an empire, plus carry another child. It is the double burden of the modern woman magnified to an absurd degree.
It is structurally exhausting. And if we connect this dynamic of mismatched parenting expectations to the bigger picture, it is a perfect, seamless transition to our next scene.
Oh, for sure.
Because we immediately see the reality of what happens to a child when parents aren't operating on the same page. We head over to an Airbnb where Ro and her ex, Javon, are meeting to cook dinner and discuss the behavioral issues of their middle school daughter, Sophia.
This scene was so fraught with tension, but also so grounded in reality. Sophia is giving major attitude. She is a teenager, the hormones are raging, her brain chemistry is actively rewiring itself.
It's a tough age.
Javon thinks Ro is entirely too soft on her, and Ro argues that Javon's rigid discipline makes Sophia cry and damages their trust.
And what we are witnessing here is the fascinating structural dynamic of long-distance parenting versus in-the-trenches parenting. Javon is not living in that house day to day. When he sees his daughter, he gets the chill vacation version of her, or he gets to play the strict authoritarian disciplinarian on a brief phone call. Ro is in the actual trenches.
She is doing all the heavy lifting.
She is managing the day-to-day grind, the homework, the moods, the minutia, and they clash over this specific habit. Sophia only hugs Ro after she does something bad and gets caught. Javon looks at this through a purely cynical lens and immediately labels it as manipulation.
And that label absolutely broke my heart. I got so intensely emotional about this because we need to look at this through the lens of attachment theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
I do not believe for 1 second that an insecure, developing middle schooler is a calculating master manipulator. I think she is a kid who messes up, feels the overwhelming tension in the house, feels the weight of her mother's disappointment, and hugs her mom as a desperate bid for secure attachment. It's her way of asking, do you still love me even though I failed? Are we still structurally okay? She is trying to reconnect. Calling it manipulation puts such a negative, malicious, adult intent on what is fundamentally a child's panicked cry for emotional reassurance.
That is a very empathetic, psychologically generous read, and in terms of attachment theory, you are probably right.
Thank you.
But you also have to understand that Javon is looking at it logically through the lens of basic behaviorism, like operant conditioning. He sees a behavioral loop. The child acts out. The child gives affection to bypass the punishment. The child avoids the consequence.
I mean, I guess, but it's so cold.
Their parenting styles are completely clashing because they are operating on different psychological frameworks. You have Baltimore Ro focusing on emotional resonance and Miami Carroll City Javon focusing on strict behavioral outcomes, and they are just speaking completely different languages.
It's so hard to watch them talk past each other.
But the resolution of the scene was actually incredibly mature. They agreed to go to family therapy.
Which is huge. Setting aside your ego and your pride to sit in a room with a professional for the sake of your child's development is top-tier parenting. I really genuinely hope they actually follow through and implement the psychological tools the therapist gives them, because you can tell there is still a massive amount of underlying unresolved tension between Ro and Javon.
Oh, there's massive unresolved romantic and sexual tension there. You could cut it with a knife. They are bickering about parenting, but they are communicating about their own fractured relationship.
Definitely.
But let's move from healthy therapeutic solutions back to absolute toxic workplace behavior. The messy office chat.
Oh, boy.
Chloe and Ro visit Lori at her very spacious, very professional PR office.
And Chloe did not even let the leather on the guest chair get warm before she started aggressively stirring the pot. They are discussing Ro's wild night out event, and out of nowhere, Chloe casually calls Ashley a married freak.
Just completely out of nowhere.
And then, completely unprompted by the flow of conversation, she looks around the room and asks if everyone in the group is genuinely happily married.
Which is such a wild, deeply insecure question to ask a group of women when you are the only one currently sitting in that room who isn't married.
Right.
Chloe then goes on this monologue claiming that married sex should be spunky, funky, and nasty. And then she heavily, explicitly shades Labrina and Will, claiming they definitely don't have sex and calling it a massive red flag for their marriage.
Okay, can we just pause and talk about how deeply inappropriate and boundary-crossing it is to dissect another couple's intimate bedroom habits in a professional office setting?
It's wild.
Lori, to her credit, tries to defend them. She points out that Labrina is beautiful and Will is a very handsome man. And then Chloe pivots and acts like her own boyfriend, Jordan, is the absolute ultimate prize in the male species.
Which is a highly debatable thesis.
Highly debatable.
Jordan is fine. He seems like a perfectly adequate guy. But Chloe talks about him like he is the literal inventor of romance and passion. It's classic psychological projection. She attacks the stability of other people's marriages to validate her own unlegitimized relationship.
It really is projection.
But the pivot in this scene is what really matters for the overarching narrative. Lori brings up the fact that Labrina is vehemently denying the precious comment, and Chloe, operating with all the misplaced confidence of a woman who has never been fact-checked in her life, demands that they roll the tapes.
Oh my gosh.
She swears on her life she never said it and blatantly calls Labrina a liar.
Roll the tapes. It was publicized. She yells, looking right at the camera.
And here's where it gets absolutely fascinating from a sociological perspective. This highlights the extreme danger of demanding the tapes be rolled when you have a flawed, self-serving memory. Because the producers, who are petty geniuses, immediately oblige. The editors literally flash back to the therapy session. Did Chloe say the exact literal word precious in that specific audio clip? No. But did Chloe absolutely undeniably plant the seed by explicitly comparing the friend to the actress Gabrielle Sidibe? Yes. She absolutely did.
She planted the seed.
This is how the mechanism of her manipulation works. She hands out the puzzle pieces, lets someone else assemble the picture, and then acts morally outraged that they put it together.
She laid out a trail of highly specific breadcrumbs. And this is exactly why the telephone game in this specific friend group is so deeply destructive, which leads us perfectly into the brewing storm of communication breakdowns. We have two separate scenes that are essentially acting as narrative mirrors to each other.
Let's hear it.
First, Ashley and Labrina at dinner.
Where Ashley is late, by the way. I noticed Labrina checking her watch, and if I am waiting at a restaurant for someone who is already overcommitted, I would have been furious. It shows a lack of respect for time.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But they eventually bond over their husbands, demanding more children while contributing less labor. But then Ashley complains that Chloe maliciously carried back a private comment. Ashley had confided in Chloe that she felt Ro had a wall up and was hard to connect with. And Chloe, operating as the bone collector, immediately went and told Ro.
And then the editors brilliantly intercut this with Monira and Norm at his duplex construction site.
Yes.
Where Monira is aggressively critiquing the window placements, and Norm jokes that when he built his first custom home, Monira critiqued his work so fast he thought he married a hater.
Which is actually kind of funny.
But Monira immediately bristles, gets highly defensive, and calls Norm petty for his dinner prayer.
Both of these scenes are causally connected because they are showing the women buckling under the stress of failed communication. Monira is entirely failing to communicate her real foundational pain to Norm, so instead they are superficially bickering over window frames and dinner prayers. And Ashley is slowly realizing that Chloe is actively breaking down the communication infrastructure in the friend group by playing this toxic middleman.
Which forces Ashley to finally take direct action. She sets up the Pilates truce.
Oh, the Pilates scene.
Ro and Ashley agreed to do a private Pilates session to hash out their beef. And I just have to say, from a physiological standpoint, Pilates is a terrible place to have a high-stakes confrontation.
It looks so hard.
You are in a highly vulnerable physical position. Your core is literally shaking. You are trying to remember to breathe, and you are trying to articulate a nuanced argument. Absolutely not. No, thank you.
I thought the visual was hilarious, but I loved the directness of the conversation. Ro comes in hot and ready to address the issues. She is mad that Ashley said she had a wall up, but she is furiously offended that Ashley allegedly bragged about being an owner of a bar while diminishing Ro by calling her just a manager.
And here is where we dissect the anatomy of a flawed truce. Ashley actually admits to making the manager versus owner comment. She owns the words. But in a masterstroke of deflection, she immediately blames Chloe for adding sauce to the delivery. She argues that the words weren't the problem, it was Chloe's malicious spin that caused the hurt, and Ro just accepts this.
Because they both hate Chloe.
Exactly. They both eagerly agree that Chloe is a bone collector who is starting little fires everywhere, and they absolve each other.
I mean, I love a direct face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
I love that they squashed it right there on the Pilates reformer and decided to move forward without the middleman.
I aggressively disagree with how easily Ashley got away with this.
Really?
Let's look at the facts. Yes, Chloe delivered the message. Yes, Chloe is a messy courier. But Ashley still said the shady thing.
Boy, yeah.
Ashley still looked at Ro's entire career trajectory and consciously diminished it to elevate her own status. Own your shade, Ashley. Do not hide behind the messenger's tone of voice. If you didn't want the quote printed in the metaphorical newspaper, you shouldn't have given the interview.
You are so analytical and ruthless. But you're right. The deflection is a real structural problem. And all of this deflection, all these little fires, all of these avoided conversations, they all converge into an absolute uncontainable inferno at the climax of the episode.
Couples game night.
The couple's game night.
Oh, the psychological warfare of couples game night set the scene for everyone because the tension was palpable from the second they walked in.
Okay, so Ashley hosts this dinner. We've got Labrina and Will, Monira and Norm, Chloe and Jordan, and Ashley and Brad. Kiati is hosting a dating-style game with an actual microphone, which is a highly aggressive choice for an intimate dinner party.
Extremely aggressive. The answers to the game questions were incredibly revealing about the power dynamics in these relationships. Question 1. Who apologizes first?
Oh boy.
Labrina proudly says she does because Will struggles with apologies. That is not a cute quirk, Labrina. That is a massive red flag waving proudly in the Houston wind. Inability to apologize shows a lack of empathy.
That was definitely concerning. Then we find out Norm made the first move with Monira, which was actually a very cute, grounding moment for them. But then we get to Chloe and Jordan.
The intentional moment.
Yes, they get asked a very simple question. What makes each other smile?
Mm.
Chloe gives this very earnest answer, saying Jordan makes her smile by being intentional with his actions. And Jordan, completely missing the emotional weight of the moment, says he makes her smile by being myself.
And they lose the point. Because those are fundamentally entirely different answers.
Completely different.
Being myself is the most bare minimum, low effort, structurally hollow answer a man can possibly give. It essentially translates to, I just have to exist in her general vicinity and she is grateful for my presence. It shows zero active contribution to her happiness.
So depressing.
Contrast that starkly with Brad, who, despite his other massive flaws, looks at Ashley and says he hopes she never stops being a baddie and being fine. He actively validates her identity, which she visibly loved.
It was a fun game that highlighted some real cracks. But the second the game ends and the men leave the table to go to the bar,
The fallout begins.
the fallout begins. The women immediately, and I mean with terrifying precision, round on Chloe. It was like watching a synchronized military strike.
It was a textbook ambush. Let's break down the mechanics of the scapegoating. Ashley confronts Chloe for telling Ro about the manager-owner comment. Labrina immediately piles on and brings up the precious comment again. Chloe is suddenly playing defense against 3 different prosecutors at once, completely surrounded.
And then the twist of the absolute century happens.
A twist.
Monira, who has been sitting there quietly all season, completely detached from this specific drama, randomly pipes up. She clears her throat and admits that she is pretty sure she was the one who said the word precious because she couldn't remember the actress's name.
I nearly dropped my drink on the floor. Monira, why on earth are you volunteering as tribute in the middle of a firing squad? You have been perfectly quiet for 3 episodes, and now you decide to hurl yourself into the line of fire.
It was so chaotic.
But what her admission actually does is profound. It proves that this entire season-long argument is based on a collective, messy game of telephone where absolutely everyone is slightly guilty of contributing to the distortion.
But the truth comes too late. Chloe feels completely attacked and backed into a corner. The emotional damage is done. She yells that she is the glue of this group and that she protects all you mother messers by holding their secrets.
Sure, she does.
She grabs Jordan, storms out of the restaurant, and calls Ro from the car. And she's furious. She is hyperventilating. She feels entirely betrayed because she realizes Ro outed her to Ashley as the source of the gossip.
I'm the glue of this group. Let's examine that metaphor. Ma'am, if you are the glue, you are cheap, toxic glue. You are just making everything sticky, messy, and ruining the foundational structure of the group.
You are so harsh.
I have absolutely zero sympathy for Chloe's tears here. If you are going to intentionally carry bones between camps to curry favor, you cannot act shocked and victimized when the dogs finally turn around and start barking at you. She played a dangerous game of social currency, and she went bankrupt.
I genuinely feel terrible for her. Seeing her spiral in the car, having a panic attack, she genuinely feels betrayed. In her mind, she thought she was just gossiping safely with her friends, sharing information to build intimacy, and they all systematically conspired to make her the sole scapegoat for their own shady comments. It's incredibly sad to watch someone realize they are the sacrificial lamb for the group's survival.
It's the natural consequence of reality television behavior. You cannot play both sides and expect loyalty from either. Okay, Snark Squad, we've spiraled deeply enough over the recap. We have unpacked the psychology. Let's hand out some actual hardware. It is time for our segments, starting with Segment 1, Hustler of the Week.
For me, and I think for you too, there's only one logical option this week based on sheer output. It has to be Ashley.
Unquestionably, based purely on the physical and mental stamina displayed.
Let's review the tape one more time. She has her doctorate. She is a practicing therapist handling human trauma. She runs a lure bar and lounge. She is physically opening McQuarters, a luxury steakhouse. She is managing a chaotic, multi-generational household. And she is executing all of this while actively fending off her husband's ridiculous transactional demands for a third child. She is the literal, undeniable definition of heart and hustle.
She is holding the entire microeconomy of Houston on her shoulders. I genuinely hope she gets a nap and an IV drip of vitamins.
Me too.
Segment 2, Business or Personal. We look at the biggest conflict of the episode and debate its structural roots. This week, Ashley calling Ro a manager while explicitly labeling herself an owner. What's your analytical take?
I think this was purely, undeniably personal. Yes. It was a petty, targeted dig meant to make Ro feel small. We heard earlier that Ashley felt socially rejected by Ro having a wall up at these events. When humans feel rejected socially, they often attack the other person's status to reestablish their own superiority.
Interesting.
She wanted to remind Ro, you might not want to be my friend, you might act aloof, but I am higher on the socioeconomic food chain than you. It was deep personal insecurity masking as an objective business critique.
I hear that psychological framing, but I'm going to argue it was pure business arrogance.
Yeah.
Ashley genuinely thinks her level of entrepreneurship exists on a higher, more complex tier.
But is it, though?
She is putting up the massive capital. She is taking the existential financial risk. She is dealing with the unglamorous realities of grease traps and payroll. Ro is executing someone else's vision and brand. I think Ashley was genuinely professionally offended that Ro's business practices were being used by Chloe as the group's ultimate benchmark for success. It wasn't about friendship. It was a territorial turf war over who is the true apex predator of Houston business.
That is a very cold, capitalistic read, but I can absolutely see the logic.
Thank you.
Okay, segment 3. Who's really growing? Let's break down the character arcs and the behavioral shifts. Who showed the biggest personal growth this week?
Ironically, and against all odds, I'm giving this to Monira.
Oh, wow.
Even though the dinner was a complete structural disaster and she terribly misdirected her anger at Norm, she actually made an active attempt. She tried to confront and break a cycle of generational trauma. She tried to get her estranged parents in the same room so her kids could experience a unified family structure. The execution failed miserably, but the attempt to change the narrative shows massive internal growth.
I love that choice, rewarding the intent over the outcome. For strongest friendship, I have to give it to Lori and Labrina.
The trauma bond.
Exactly. They are actively trauma bonding over their shared exhaustion with Chloe. They are consciously choosing to move past their own historical issues to unite against a common external enemy, which, as we know, is the absolute cornerstone of any strong, enduring reality TV alliance.
Truth. The enemy of my enemy is my best friend. Biggest setback is obviously Chloe. Look at the structural collapse of her social standing. She went from being everyone's confidant, the central hub that everyone fed their secrets into, to being completely isolated, scapegoated, and screamed at in the span of one 45-minute game night. She vastly overplayed her hand as the group's information broker, and the market crashed.
And the person you're rooting for. It has to be Ro. She is navigating such a complex, emotionally taxing co-parenting dynamic with a middle schooler. She's dealing with Javon, who clearly knows exactly how to push her buttons and trigger her insecurities. And yet, despite all that heavy emotional baggage, she still showed up to Pilates, did the physical work, and gracefully handled a direct conflict with Ashley without losing her composure or raising her voice. I am deeply rooting for her peace of mind.
Speaking of peace of mind, it's about to be completely shattered. Let's wrap up with segment 4, next week's predictions. What is your biggest prediction for the fallout in the next episode?
My biggest prediction is that the family therapy session with Ro, Javon, and Sophia is going to crack them wide open emotionally. I think sitting in a room with a professional mediator is going to force Javon and Ro to realize they still have massive unresolved romantic tension. And it is going to severely complicate their ability to objectively co-parent.
Yeah.
The lines are going to blur.
Oh, definitely. The clinical setting will just act as a catalyst for the romance. My prediction is regarding the next friendship to completely irreparably implode Chloe and Ro.
Oh, without a doubt.
Chloe called Ro in a panic from the car, desperately looking for a loyal ally. But once Chloe watches the footage, once she sees that Ro sat on a Pilates reformer and calmly called her a bone collector to Ashley's face, that friendship is dead on arrival. There is no coming back from that level of perceived betrayal.
The betrayal will be visceral. Okay, biggest success story for next week. I predict the grand opening of McQuarter Steak and Seafood is going to be flawless. The aesthetic will be perfect. The food will be incredible. And Brad better step up, put on an apron, and manage that grease trap himself if he wants any shred of goodwill from the viewing audience.
He needs to be bussing tables, quite frankly.
Sure.
Finally, give me one completely chaotic, unhinged theory that somehow feels entirely possible in this universe.
Okay, hear me out on the sociological butterfly effect. Elena, who has been completely absent from the narrative while dealing with her separation from Josh, is going to return to the group next week.
Okay, I'm listening.
And somehow, through the messy, interconnected grapevine of Houston's social scene, Jordan Chloe's intentional boyfriend is going to be dragged directly into Elena and Josh's marital drama. I don't know the exact mechanism of how, but the mess always finds a way to equalize.
That is logically unhinged, structurally chaotic, and therefore highly, highly likely to happen. I endorse that theory.
And that brings us to the end of our analysis, but you know we need to hear from you. We want you to sound off on social media, tag us, and tell us. Who is truly hustling the hardest this season? Which fragile friendship are you desperately rooting for to survive this toxic environment? And most importantly, what is one item on your personal dream life draft? We want to read them all and psychoanalyze your choices.
Thank you all for listening and spiraling with us through this absolute madness. If you enjoyed the chaos, please remember to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this recap with another reality TV-loving babe who desperately needs to unpack the psychology of this Houston heat.
Before we go, we want to leave you with a final philosophical thought to mull over. Think about how easily a simple human misunderstanding like Monira, just forgetting an actress's name, can mutate and metastasize into a full-blown character assassination when it gets passed through a bone collector. It really makes you wonder, are we all just one bad, distorted game of telephone away from ruining a lifelong friendship?
Keep your secrets close and your text messages even closer. Keep hustling, keep laughing, and we'll see you on the Snark side.